Chapter 421 Julian's probing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Moments before the dinner gala, as per protocol, Max had not been the one to receive the guests at the gate but rather let Asiva, who was his prime minister, do the honors. It was only at the dinner gala that he was going to meet and socialize with all the lords and their representatives. This was his second major gala dinner, with the first one being the red velvet banquet thrown by Vega in his honor. However, this was the first one where the burden of keeping all guests happy was on his shoulders. For the banquet arrangements he had thrown all responsibilities on Christian Grey, which was a big reason he was not worried about the menu or the ambience. Born as a rich man with a true golden spoon in his mouth, Christian was more of a spoilt noble than most vampire lords. He had a very refined taste in food and had several connections throughout the universe which made him adept in calling top-notch chefs for this special occasion. The banquet hall's decoration was also handled by Christian, as he chose to cover it with Bloodfall clan banners and other accessories which followed the theme of white, red, black, just like the clan banner, creating a simple yet elegant ambience. Overall, with both Asiva and Anna being satisfied with the preparations, Max had absolutely no worries that he would lose face at the banquet today. What did worry him, however, was the fact that he did not have Vega's ring to conceal his stats at this event, and while those up till tier 6 would not be able to see through him due to the Agni.Astra's protection, Julian Caesar would be able to see straight through him. On this note, Max was helpless and could only send Sebastian to chat with Vega in private and request the man for his family ring once more. Thankfully, Vega did foresee this situation and had prepared the ring before coming to Dombivli City, as he readily handed over the ring to Sebastian alongside a message to Max to beware of Savitzer and Velter. At the gala dinner, Vega. "I'm sure you must be elated today, no?" Julian said with a bitter tone as he greeted Vega with a frown. It was no secret who the real backing behind Raven was and who provided him with some troops in the early stages of his campaign, as everyone who was attending the gala congratulated Vega in private for getting one more staunch ally for his clan. "Indeed, the food's exquisite and I get to see your frowning face. I'd say my day is quite good," Vega said with a smile as he took pleasure in Julian's misery. "Raven is quite an exceptional warrior, Vega. Better keep him close. I think Prince Lucius has taken a fancy to him," Julian said teasingly as he tried to fan some flames of misunderstanding between Max and Vega. However, the sly patriarch of the Titus clan saw right through Julian's childish attempts to cause a rift. "Well, who says I'm not trying to get close to Prince Lucius myself?" Vega said with a smile as Julian scoffed. At this point in time it was no mystery that Vega fancied the throne for himself. "Greetings, Patriarch Vega, Patriarch Julian," Asiva said with a smile as she looked at the two gentlemen and said in a bubbly voice, "I hope the two of you are getting along on this beautiful evening." Vega smiled at Asiva's comments, whereas Julian controlled his annoyance as he said, "Of course, dear. Also, I sincerely hope that Raven makes you the mistress of this palace soon. You are a beautiful young lady." "Why, thank you," Asiva said bashfully as she blended in perfectly into her role of the hostesses of the evening and acted her part despite her personal feelings. "Where is Lord Raven and Commander Max Rajput? Why have they not joined the gala dinner yet?" Julian asked as he pretended to look concerned, as at that moment Max finally entered the dinner party wearing a lavish white and red robe. Immediately, he was swarmed by a lot of guests as he greeted them all patiently one at a time and did his best to make everyone feel important. "Well, as you can see, the Lord is here. As for Commander Max, he's a elusive human. I think Guildmaster Neatwit might know about his whereabouts more than me," Asiva said, replying to Julian's question as she excused herself for the moment. Julian sighed at the reply as he distanced himself from Vega. The only reason why a high-ranking lord like himself attended this ceremony personally was because of the mission Regus Aurelius assigned him to dig deeper into Raven's background. Julian sincerely hoped to uncover all of Raven's secrets in this visit, one of which was his connection to Max Rajput. However, unfortunately it seemed like the mysterious human with an elusive reputation had no intentions of showing up for his friend's coronation ceremony. "Many congratulations to Lord Raven for overthrowing the Kingsman clan," Julian eventually said as he shook Max's hand and fake greeted him for the evening. "L.C. Thank you, Patriarch Julian. I hope I can be a competent lord as yourself." Max, who accepted the compliment, replied politely before chatting idly for the next 2 minutes with Julian, talking about nothing in particular. During these 2 minutes, Julian repeatedly tried to inspect Max's stat panel and the depth of his powers. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could not read any information about Max at all. Deliberately shaking his hands twice, Julian tried to get a feel for his fingers as he realized that once again he was wearing the Titus clan ring that prevented one from inspecting their stats. Although he said nothing on the surface, his doubts regarding Raven's true nature deepened, as it was indeed just like Regus Aurelius feared. Vega Titus was going above and beyond to save this kid's identity, and the reason behind his bizarre behavior remained unknown. Chapter 422 Sabitzer and Velter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Congratulations on becoming a Lord, Captain Raven, Denver Sabitzer said with an obvious hint of arrogance in his voice. Thankfully for Max, only his eyes were visible to the other party, which made acting much more easy as he only needed to control his eye muscles. "Be no calm, thank you Lord Sabitzer, it's an honor for my Bloodfall clan for you to come attend this ceremony personally," Max said politely, as although he could not care less about if Sabitzer came or not, he needed to pretend like it was a big deal. "Huh, I like you, you have some tactical education. I must say, back at Vega's banquet I thought you were a brat who was too impudent, but it seems you are sensible after all," Denver said as he rubbed his nose with pride. Back at Vega's banquet, Max ended up quarreling with Regus Aurelius himself, which gave a dark impression to many within the Vampire Society, which was a factor behind why some of the lower-ranking lords were not personally in attendance at this ceremony, as they did not wish to associate with someone who was a known troublemaker. While those at the bottom adopted such an attitude towards Max, those at the top showed the exact opposite attitude, as they wished to befriend Max precisely because he was not a puppet who could be controlled. "The young prince tells me you are a good warrior. I have a son who has just turned 14 and lacks a proper combat instructor. Teach him for me, will you?" Denver said as he patted Max on the back. Despite his annoyance, Max did not respond immediately and reined in his anger. He was a lord, not some combat instructor who needed money to survive. If Denver had politely requested him to become one, Max might have decided to give him face and teach his son a few tricks. However, since he ordered him around instead of requesting, as if his opinion on the matter did not even matter, Max decided to not entertain his request at all. Just as he prepared a snarky reply in his mind, Max saw Asiva staring at him with wide eyes as she threateningly shook her head and mouthed the words, "Control." Instantly Max closed his eyes and chuckled. The anger he felt in his heart was dissolved by the cute worry of his girlfriend, as this was the 3rd time in 7 days that she had given him this same look. Deciding to give her face this time, Max opened his eyes and calmly told Denver, "I'm sorry Patriarch Denver, I've just been appointed as a lord and I'm buried under piles of work in the near future. My territory has internal security issues and the infrastructure here is severely lacking. As a lord, my first duty comes to my people, but perhaps once my workload reduces we can work something out." Max gave a very calm and diplomatic reply to Sabitzer, which was hard to be offended by. The shameless old god was still not convinced, however, and was about to pressure Max more when Lucius intervened in the matter and gave Max some face. "He must be busy, Lord Denver. As for your son Hudson, he can always train with me if he wants to," Lucius said as Denver Sabitzer chuckled. Stroking his fine mustache, he said, "How can I trouble the prince over such trivial matters? I'll find a suitable instructor myself." Max understood the character of Denver Sabitzer from this one conversation. He was the type of god who bowed before the strong and oppressed the weak. The typical big bully. Unfortunately for him, however, Max was not someone the likes of him could bully easily. The evening continued after this conversation as Max went on and greeted many other officials as harmonic music and tasty food courses kept flowing. Finally, as the main course started in the form of Earth's favorite dish, pizza served with a side of seasoned chili, olive oil and seasonings, the guests were awed by the unique flavor and texture and the gala reached new heights. It was at this moment that the most mysterious guest approached Max to greet him in the form of John Velter. Of everyone present at the gala, only the Velter clan's presence was the most shocking, as they were known to be recluse from the noble society. Ranked the 2nd strongest clan, the Velters were an economic powerhouse that were labeled the engine of vampire economy. John was the next in line to become lord after his father would step down or die, and his authority was almost at the same level as his father within the Velter clan. "Greetings, Lord Raven, it's a pleasure to meet a hero of our kind in person," John Velter said with a refined mannerism that gave one the impression that he was an impeccable gentleman. "Greetings, Sir John, it's an honor for the Bloodfall clan to host you here today," Max replied amiably as he tried to read the other party's emotions. "I must say, of all the dishes I've tasted in the universe, this pizza has a charm that is hard to forget. Even though it's not a meat dish, it has that chewy texture which is accompanied by the crunch of the toppings, giving it a perfect balance. Its ingenious design to balance the tanginess of the gravy with the saltiness of the milk derivative on top leaves me speechless. I must say, coming to attend this gala has been a blessing. I must have my wife try this dish, she's a food enthusiast," Velter said very eloquently as Max wondered if this guy was a good connoisseur in his past life. "Haha, I'm glad you like it. This dish is one of my personal favorites and the flavor is only enhanced once you add the correct amount of seasonings. If your wife likes it, it will be my honor to host you both for dinner someday, or I can always arrange for these chefs to come cook at your place," Max said energetically as he played his part in Velter's facade. "The food aside, there is one thing I wish to talk to you about, Lord. I wonder if now is a convenient time for business talks," Velter said slyly as Max grinned under his mask. "Here comes the drama," he thought as he said, "Certainly, sir, what do you wish to discuss?" Chapter 423 Farsighted. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My father belongs to a special class of fighters known as the puppeteer. It's a very uncommon class and very hard to perfect. His strength in combat not only depends on his own personal strength, but also on the strength of his figurines. I've been informed that you are in possession of the corpse of Rose Medici, a Tier 6 god who was killed using unknown methods by your friend, the human warrior Max Rajput. I want to buy that corpse from you, if possible, John said as he put forward his request. Max chuckled. He finally understood the reason why John was personally here. In theory there was nothing valuable that Max possessed that a high-ranking lord like Velter would want. Whether for economic, military, or political connections, Velter had no need of maintaining a good relationship with a small fry like the Bloodfall clan. However, if there was one thing that was extremely difficult to obtain in the wide universe, it was the intact corpse of a god. The reason behind why it was so difficult to obtain one was because of three main reasons. BL.net 1, it was difficult to kill gods in a battle, even if one could employ a god to kill another god, which was a very difficult task in of itself. The other party usually had means to retreat safely without dying. 2. When they did die in battle, their corpses were usually mangled, destroyed or in pitiful conditions, unsuitable to be turned into puppets. 3. Not many knew how to preserve the corpses perfectly after death, and although the decay did not start in gods as fast as it did in humans, the neurotic connections started to erode as time passed. Under such a situation, Max was in possession of an intact corpse of a god who had not died too long ago and was perfect to be turned into a puppet, something that the Velter clan were ready to pay a high price for. It was like Max was in possession of a rare treasure which might show up in the best auction houses only once in a century or two, and when it did show up, it would cause intense bidding war to follow. Since the matter was sufficiently important to the Velter clan, John had been sent personally to retrieve it. Seeing that Raven was in deep silence following his request, John coughed as he said, "Any price is acceptable, just name an amount you think is reasonable, Lord Raven, please don't hesitate." The other party was virtually offering Max a blank check. However, Max did not wish to sell the corpse for money. "I do not dare ask for a price from the Velter clan regarding this matter. Since the patriarch wants it, treat it as a gift from the Bloodfall clan to him," Max said with an amused tone as he watched John frown a bit before concealing his emotions again. Usually one would be glad to receive such a high-value item which could cost anywhere between 25.45 billion gold coins in an auction setting for free. However, those who were a part of the noble society for ages knew better than anyone that there was nothing like a free lunch in this world. Since Raven was showing sincerity on this matter, Velter was sure in his head that he planned on exploiting the Velter clan on some other matter. Oh no, how can the Velter clan take advantage of the Bloodfall clan's generosity like that? The item is worth several billion gold coins, it's inappropriate for me to accept it for free. How about this, I'll pay you a price that I consider is fair on this item. How about 30 billion gold coins? John asked with a fake smile as he seriously hoped that Raven accepted this offer and did not test his bottom line. Ha ha ha, well this territory does need money to develop so. Max said shyly as John sighed in relief. What Max said was true, the territory did need money but not as badly as they did before the exploration, and hence Max here was aiming for a bigger target. The Velter clan was one of the biggest shareholders of the Big Potions alchemic chain, which was the go.to destination to buy potions for all adventurers and locals, having more than 50,000 branches across the universe and generating an annual revenue of over 250 billion gold coins. The 7 Galaxies Bank VIP card holders enjoyed benefits of discount within the Big Potions shop, which was exactly why Max shopped from it when he purchased his large stocks of alchemical mana potions to repay Angakok's debt. It was the best chain with a sorted distribution network to launch any new alchemical product. However, it was a deathbed for small businesses as the Big Potions took a large margin of the profits. However, this was an issue that could be solved by a few words said by John Velter. How about this, Sir John can pay us 15 billion in liquid cash for the corpse, it's half the price that you feel fair, which helps balance your insistence with our spirit of friendship, Max said as he noticed the stunned expression on John's face, who was at a loss of words for a few seconds. You are very kind, Lord Raven. Please feel free to approach your friends, the Velter clan, if you face any troubles in the future, John said as he could not wrap his head around Max's true intentions. It's nothing, money is not one of my main worries at the moment. An alchemical team funded by me has made some breakthrough new generation potions. What I care about more is friendship, Max said as he purposefully only revealed a slight tit-bit and baited Velter into asking about it himself. Some new potions. This indeed sounds a promising avenue to make money. Does the Lord already have a distribution partner for it? If not, I can hook you up with the Big Potions group, John said with a smile. Max was in complete state of euphoria once John said this, however he played it off casually as he said, I'll send the Lord some samples in the coming weeks, we can discuss the potions in depth some other day. With a few kind words, Max ended the conversation with John having opened an avenue to recoup the 15 billion he had let go in next 6 months if everything worked out well. While the other vampires could not listen in on the private conversation between John Velter and Raven Bloodfall, Sam St. Maximus and Severus St. Maximus could, as the two looked at each other and gave each other a knowing smile as they chuckled inwardly as to how beautifully Max played John. Sam in particular was impressed by Max's far-sighted vision, as most lords in the lower rankings of vampire society would often be blinded by a sum of money as big as 30 billion, but Max wasn't. Not only did he keep his cool, he talked to John like an equal and truly leveraged his position to the maximum to get a good deal for himself. It was like watching a seasoned noble at work who had been scamming other dimwits for decades. ///////n This bonus chapter is sponsored by patron Alcat_Gaming. Please thank him in the comments for this one /////. Chapter 424 Hazriel. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the end, the evening ended rather peacefully after desserts were served. For dessert, Christian Grey had developed a special blood-flavored ice cream fondue where the nobles could enjoy various assortments dipped in chilled blood to their liking. It seemed like all the nobles thoroughly enjoyed the food and the event was a grand success overall. Despite the powerful line-up which had gathered under one roof at the evening, no fights broke out and nobody behaved unruly. Julian Caesar did try to pick the brains of Neatwit, Anna, Sebastian, the chairman of the 7 Galaxies Bank, over their relationship with Raven, trying to understand if there was something they knew about him that he did not. However, apart from snooping around for information, he did not disrupt the harmony of the event. Once the gala dinner was over, everyone retired to their own personal quarters assigned by the Bloodfall clan, as the coronation ceremony was to start early morning next day. During the gala dinner, while on the surface everyone talked about food, territory and superficial stuff, those who knew each other better asked amongst themselves as to what gift they were going to present at the coronation ceremony the next day. According to customs, all vampire clans in attendance of a coronation ceremony were required to present a gift to the newly crowned lord. However, the question of what to gift the new lord had always bothered many. The gifts were given publicly and in sequence of the clan rankings after the coronation had been done, and if the presented gift did not match up to what everyone else was giving, it resulted in a loss of face for the guest clan. Naturally, nobody wanted to give an overly expensive gift, but rather something that would be considered just acceptable. Under such circumstances, having an idea of what the others were presenting gave the clan representative some insight into if she needed to swap their gifts for something more or less valuable before the ceremony tomorrow. Hence, although the palace gates were officially closed for the night, under the shade of darkness, several guards belonging to different clans sneaked out of the palace to swap their prepared gifts for something more appropriate. Max, who did not need to wonder about gifting anybody, returned to his bedroom with sluggish steps as he teased and groped Asiva inappropriately along the way. Initially, Max was only touching the luxurious fabric over her body, which felt silky soft to touch. However, once his hands felt her superb curves, he could not help but squeeze them for the ultimate satisfaction. Stop. At least let us reach the bedroom. What will the palace guards think of you when they see you doing such stuff? Asiva said, flabbergasted as her entire face became red like a tomato from Max's actions. Let them think what they want, I'll do whatever I please, wherever I please with my SIV, Max said like a dog in heat as he intensified his moves on Asiva, making her feel weak in the legs and let out a soft moan. The guards, who saw the unnatural behavior of their lord today, purposefully avoided looking in the direction of the couple who were showing public affection, as at that moment Asiva wished she could be buried in a ditch from all the embarrassing gazes she received. In the end, as they did enter their private chamber, Asiva pushed Max aside completely and bared her fangs at him, reminding him that she was only gentle when she wanted to be gentle, but was a ferocious fighter otherwise. Max, who knew that her girlfriend's fangs were like elephant's teeth, was not deterred by her threats as he moved towards her to tackle her down. It was at this moment that Zippo suddenly reacted and sprung out of Max's shadow as a white flash of light passed by Max at a speed where he was barely able to catch a glimpse of the passing flash but not able to react to it. Thud thud, within a single second both Zippo and Asiva were knocked out cold as their bodies hit the floor as Max's senses went into hyperdrive. Max looked all around the room, trying to locate the assailant, when he saw a serene-looking woman standing calmly in his balcony basking in the gentle moonlight. Max's heart began beating out of his chest looking at this woman, as he had the same visage as the girl who entered and dominated his dreams almost every night. Every day he wondered about the time and place where they would meet next, or about the things he would tell her when they met, yet he never expected that it would happen so suddenly one day when he least expected it. Max slowly walked towards her, admiring her beautiful snow-white wings that looked mysteriously strong yet delicate at the same time. Unknown to himself, he subconsciously adjusted his path of walking to catch a glimpse of her face, which looked divine as she stared at the moon above Dombivli city with a smile. Her face was almost timeless. She did not look old, she did not look young, but rather had this ambiguous-looking face which could belong to a young maiden in her 20s or a mother of two in her 40s. Her lips were slightly wide as her breathing seemed to be slightly laborious, but it only made Max feel an uncomfortable urge to kiss her longingly, so that her shortness of breath became even more evident. By the time Max reached the spot beside her, he was convinced in his mind that this was some vivid dream because it felt too good to be true to him. The woman beside him was the Archangel Hazriel. Even if he lost 99% vision in both his eyes, he would still recognize her figure, since she was the one god that Max piously prayed to. Whenever Max succeeded in life, whenever he failed at something, whenever he had to make a big decision, he would always pray to Hazriel for guidance and good luck as he would clutch the green-winged angel pendant that she had given him. She was the one who had given Max a second life. she was the one who had responded to the most desperate prayer of his life when he had hit his rock bottom, and for that chance Max was eternally grateful to her. In this universe there were not many people Max would not double-cross for personal benefits if the situation demanded so, but Hazriel was one of those people. If Hazriel commanded Max to give up his lordship today and become a hermit, Max would do so because he had that much trust in this angel who was his savior. According to the vision she showed him before his rebirth, Max had retrieved 2 pieces of the Agni, Astra, and was now ready to become a lord and start his journey to become the Vampire King. Every action he took, every goal he pursued were because of the visions that Hazriel had shown him, and now that she was here before him in flesh, Max's emotions all congregated together, making his mind go blank. Hazriel turned her head slightly to look at Max, who was standing beside her, as looking into his blood-red eyes which were staring dazedly at her face, Hazriel felt her heart beat slightly faster as she could feel the passion in Max's gaze. Ahem. Ho, Hazriel, who was about to say "How have you been?" was shocked, and Max suddenly wrapped his hands around her waist and leaned in for a kiss. She did not expect Max to make such a bold move on her, and while his speed was so slow that she could have evaded the kiss 100 times if she really wanted to, or vaporize him a dozen times if she really felt offended, in the end she did let his lips touch hers as she enjoyed his warmth and his passionate kiss with a guilty conscience. She was the mighty angel Hazriel, and throughout her life there had been countless suitors who had wanted to win her heart and her body, however, none had been successful in their attempts. To her, the choice of a suitor depended on several factors, but the most important one was that suitor's image and respect for her in their heart. Max, who was kissing her with all his passion, was 99% convinced in his mind that this was but just a dream, and that if this was the real Hazriel, she would never have let him touch her, much less kiss her. Hence he did not let go of Hazriel after a simple smooch, but rather pushed his tongue inside her mouth for an even more passionate kiss. Hazriel, who was caught off guard by Max's passion, did not understand how to react, as she herself understood that it was too late to stop now, so she did the next best thing and knocked Max out once she felt that he had kissed her enough. Looking at Max's smiling body as he was unconscious, Hazriel felt a deep blush appear over her face as she recalled the moment that had just transpired. Although Max would wake up 2 minutes later and they would have their conversation as usual, the only hope that Hazriel had in her heart was that Max would treat the kiss that happened between them moments ago as nothing but a sweet dream and not believe it to be real. Chapter 425 Max's Fate. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Max woke up he felt an acute pain on his neck, as if he had been hit hard there just moments ago. He seemed to remember a vivid dream, one where he shared a passionate kiss with Archangel Hazriel in the balcony of this very room. However, he was sure that it was nothing more than a dream. The only problem was, his lips could still feel the moistness of her lips even though it was a dream, and just like his neck which ached slightly, his lips also had a slow burning sensation which only occurred after an intense bout of kissing someone. Such a vivid dream. Max murmured as he stirred and woke up, only to be stunned seeing Archangel Hazriel standing in his room's balcony just like she was in his dream a few moments ago. Max touched his lips, then his neck, then looked around the room to see Asiva and Zippo still knocked out cold as he wondered if it was all really a dream or was it true. "You are awake," a gentle voice said, cutting Max's internal thoughts short as Hazriel turned to face him and walked slowly towards him. Max smiled brightly seeing her face. She was as graceful and pretty as his memory made her to be, a true goddess at the epitome of beauty standards. "This lowly mortal is blessed to have you visit him personally, Archangel Hazriel," Max said as he put his right arm to his chest and his left arm behind his back as he bowed as low as his back muscles would allow. "You have grown, I'm happy to see you make it so far," Hazriel said with only a hint of kindness in her words as she waited for Max to regain his posture and stand back up straight. "It's all because of your guidance," Max replied humbly as he stood back up straight and looked straight into the angel's eyes. By now Hazriel had completely regained her composure and was no longer allured by Max's charms as she could look at him expressionlessly without letting the other party have the slightest idea that only moments ago the two of them shared a passionate kiss. "I see you still wear my pendant," Hazriel said, revealing a slight smile. "Yes, it's my lucky charm, I clutch it and pray to you whenever I'm in a fix, Max said honestly as Hazriel's smile widened. The necklace Hazriel had given Max was special. It was a necklace that connected its wearer with Hazriel and allowed her to peer into their fate. It was the reason why Hazriel was able to hear all those desperate prayers that Max made to her, or the idle chatter he did at times to inform her about his life developments, and why Hazriel had slowly developed feelings for Max, as for the first time ever, she got to know a person's true inner personality without them deliberately manipulating it in front of her. When she usually interacted with men, they would hide their true thoughts and only put their best face forward. However, because of the necklace's connection to Max, Hazriel was sure that the side which Max showed to her while praying were his true inner feelings without any deceit. It was only because she found that side of Max cute and enigmatic that she was rooting for him to succeed on a personal level. Although since Max ascended to Tier 4 she could no longer pry into his fate because the fog of karma surrounding it was extremely thick, there was one event that she had foreseen in his future which was sure to lead to his doom, for which she was here today. Good job becoming a lord and overcoming your mana limitation. If I did not witness it personally, I'd never believe that you were once an individual who could not even sense the slightest fluctuation of mana in the universe, Hazriel said as she acknowledged Max's journey up till this point. Max said nothing but smiled like a silly fanboy as he waited for Hazriel to get to the point of why she was here. I've been watching over you, Max Rajput, I've been watching over you for a long time, and I'm happy to say that you have grown to a point where the laws of the universe make it extremely difficult for me to pry into your fate. But this also means, I can no longer show you visions of what you need to do in your future to achieve the greatness that you seek. Perhaps, today is the last intervention I'll be able to make. Hazriel said with a concerned voice as Max snapped out of his fanboy zone and immediately focused on what she was saying. Tomorrow, Regus Aurelius will come here personally to coronate you. It will be a matter of great prestige for you and your people, and the ceremony will start with very high spirits. However, before he would place the crown over your head, he would bring up an unrelated matter of Max Rajput allegedly killing an Aurelius family government official in a distant planet. You would react as if you never heard about the matter and like the whole concept of it was a little absurd, and would be baited by Regus Aurelius to sign a system contract where it would state that you were unaware of his involvement within this matter. In theory you would have no qualms about signing the system contract, but once you skim through it the condition inside the contract would say, neither was I aware of Max Rajput's involvement in this matter, nor am I the same Max Rajput in question, a very carefully crafted ploy by the monarch, which would make it impossible for you to sign the contract. Questions will be raised when you refuse to sign the contract amidst a hall filled with vampire lords and their representatives, and in the end you will die tomorrow after Regus Aurelius brands you a traitor. A perfect political assassination, Hazriel said as she told Max precisely what was in store for him at the coronation ceremony tomorrow. Chapter 426 Saved Again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the end, you will die tomorrow. Max was stunned to hear these words. He was stunned at the sophistry Regus Aurelius was capable of to trap a small fry like Max unaware. If Hazriel did not tell him Regus's exact methods, he had no doubt in his mind that everything would have followed Regus Aurelius's script just how he planned it to be. Even Regus Aurelius knew that the story about Max killing an Aurelius executive was bullshit, but it did not matter, because if it was bullshit he stood to lose nothing, but regardless of whether it was true or false, framing Max Rajput like this was sure to isolate him as Raven's ally. In the future Max would never be able to let his clone follow him into battle, as it would tarnish his image as a lord to fight alongside an alleged criminal. In Regus's mind there was reasonable doubt to believe that Max Rajput was the same individual as Raven, as despite the mixed reports and clear differences, nobody was able to conclusively say that the two were different people. Hence by playing this trick he could not only isolate Max Rajput from helping Raven again in the future, but also confirm his identity by adding a small line within the system contract that he could force Max to sign. In the end, if Max refused to sign the contract he could accuse him of collusion with a criminal and brandish him a traitor and refuse to coronate him. If things got out of control, he could even execute him while maintaining his impression of being fair and reasonable. It was dirty politics of the highest level, and despite everything that Max had achieved in his life up till this point, he was doomed to die under Regis's scheming. Cold sweat dripped from Max's forehead when he thought about what was in store for him in the future, as he helplessly glanced towards Hazriel on what to do next. I've seen this future a while ago, and it's not an absolute. We can change this vision with a little planning, but altering fate is always dangerous. Since we are knowingly meddling with fate, the burden of your actions will fall equally on someone else who would have otherwise benefited from your death, Hazriel said after letting Max process her first words for a while. I'm not concerned with those who benefit from my death anyways. Please tell me, what can I do to avoid this future? Max said with a slightly panicked voice, as despite trying to maintain his composure, a few cracks in his usual smooth tone betrayed his inner feelings. Here, these will help you, Hazriel said as she tossed Max 2 artifacts. Liar's Pen, Divine. A one-of-a-kind object that allows the signee to sign any system contract without bearing the consequences of breaching it. Restrictions. Can be used only once by an individual. Uses remaining. 1 out of 1, Angel's Mask, Divine. A half mask covering the bearer's face from nose and above. Effects. Shows a different face shape covered with a different color mask every time one blinks while looking at it, making it impossible to discern the wearer's identity. Effects. Grants complete immunity from all status inspection attempts restrictions. This is a bound item that drops upon the owner's death and consumes 250 units/mana per hour to wear. If the owner cannot feed it mana every hour, it can even kill the owner from mana deficiency. Currently bound to noon, Hazriel handed Max 2 divine artifacts whose value could not even be calculated. The Liar's Pen was an item that could cheat the Universal Queen's almighty contract, which was known to be inevitable and binding for even Tier 8 monarchs, while the mask was an item which granted Max complete immunity from inspection spells, putting it on par with the Titus clan special ring, which was a legacy item preserved within the clan. I don't know how I can thank you enough for these, or for taking time to come help me here. Today you have saved me once again, and for that I shall be eternally grateful to you, Max said in daze, as he could not believe his own eyes that Hazriel casually gave him such precious 2 items. No need to thank me, just remember that when you are in a position to help the angels, make sure you do help them, and never betray the light faction, no matter the allure of the dark faction, okay? Hazriel said kindly as she judged Max's expressions. Max nodded fervently as he swore internally that he would never betray the Angel clan and Hazriel, because if he did, he would be worse than a demon who could not even cherish the individual who saved his life not once but twice. A plan quickly formed within Max's head as to how he should use these 2 items to get out of his predicament tomorrow. However, he felt extremely heavy-hearted accepting this grace for nothing as a small tear escaped his eye. After my brother's death, you are the only one to help me with no strings attached. Max said as his voice cracked a lot and a couple more tears escaped his eyes. In his 2 lifetimes, only his brother and Hazriel kept giving him stuff without asking for anything in return, and they were the 2 people closest to his heart. Well, it's time for me to take my leave here today. If fate permits it, we shall meet again, next time most likely on a battlefield, Hazriel said as she moved her glance from Max towards the knocked-out Asiva. She is willing to hear your children one day and is willing to die for you if the need be, a truly loyal and devoted wife that only the fortunate can have. Take better care of her and listen to her sound advice more. She is a big part of your destiny, Hazriel said as she gave Max one last big smile before vanishing into thin air. /////A/N. Bonus chapter for hitting the grow a tree target on Discord. Good job everyone who participated to hit the goal ////. Chapter 427. The ceremony starts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The day of the coronation ceremony, Asiva woke up with an unnatural pain over her neck. She did not remember anything prior to being knocked out cold, and the first reaction she had after waking up was one of panic, as she feared that she might have overslept and missed Max's coronation ceremony. Thankfully, she had woken up just in time, the day's official proceedings had not yet started and she had a full 30 minutes to get ready and show up to the courtroom before the proceedings began. Quickly getting ready, Asiva called the maids to help her as she prayed that in her absence Anna would have taken care of everything inside the courtroom. Max was extremely calm before the ceremony, emanating the energy of "Don't worry, I'm in control," as he helped Asiva calm down completely before the two headed towards the courtroom together. Asiva felt that there was something different about Max today, but she could not wrap her head around what exactly it was. On the surface the two of them were wearing matching robes like a true couple. She was wearing a red robe with a hint of white and golden while Max was wearing a white robe with a hint of red and golden, perfectly alternating what the other wore. Asiva wore a very precious blue rhodium pendant on her neck with matching earrings and nose ring, whereas Max wore a beautiful white mask which was unlike his usual concealer mask that covered his whole face. This mask was white in color and only covered Max's face until his nose, letting his perfect jawline be on full display. It was a convenient mask that would help Max eat, kiss, drink more conveniently than his previous one where he needed to lift it up from his chin to create a small gap underneath. It was only after Asiva kept staring at his mask for a full minute and blinked that she realized what was different about Max, as the second she blinked his white mask had turned to purple and his face structure changed significantly. Asiva's eyes widened in shock at this change as she jogged her memory as to when did Max obtain such an object, but her mind drew blank. She had never seen Max utilize this mask before and did not understand the origins of it either. If it were not for Max walking with his usual aura and charisma, Asiva might have doubted that he had been replaced by an imposter, and despite her urge to ask him questions about his new mask at the moment, she understood that now was not the right time. Now entering. The rising star of the Vampire Society, the destroyer of the Kingsman clan and the conqueror of Dombivli, Raven Bloodfall, the attendant announced as Max entered his own courtroom, which was already filled with some of his most important ministers, and took his seat on the throne. In the coronation ceremony there were a lot of small procedures that happened in rapid succession, and only after they were all completed and the crown was placed over Max's head did he officially get the title of a lord. Now entering. The Prime Minister of the Aurelius clan, the mighty Tier 6 god, Tingen. He carries with him the flag of the Bloodfall clan and the blood of the werewolf progenitor. The Aurelius Prime Minister walked inside the courtroom and walked up to the center of the hall before bowing slightly before Raven and sprinkling 2 drops of the blood of the werewolf progenitor on the Bloodfall clan flag as per tradition. Within the Vampire Society, the oldest standing tradition was that after the war with the werewolves on Ixtal that created the Sanguine, every vampire lord who had participated in that fight ages ago dipped their clan banners within werewolf progenitor's blood to remind their descendants of the glory of their ancestors. Now many thousand years later, it was a tradition that was passed down to all vampire clans, as all new clan banners were also given this same privilege so that even their descendants could hold their heads high. The crown recognizes the fall of the Kingsman clan, the traitors who collaborated with outcasts, and supports the rise of the Bloodfall clan to the throne of Dombivli, Gianni, Grey House, Wet Planet and Paradis capital. All hail Bloodfall clan, hail! Everyone except Max saluted the clan banner as the Prime Minister respectfully walked up to Max with his head bowed and his steps nimble and handed him the banner sprinkled with werewolf blood. Max took the flag and placed his beside his chair on a specially prepared flag holder, as the first ceremony of the day came to an end. The Bloodfall clan had been now officially recognized within Vampire Society. Now entering. The leader of the Galileo clan, the mighty Lord Turnan Galileo, the slayer of the Flame Lion which had terrorized Marin City. With him is his subordinates carrying the gift prepared for the Bloodfall clan. As the announcer announced the entry of the 36th ranked clan in all of Vampire Society, a middle-aged vampire with black eyes and a patchy beard walked inside the hall with confidence. In the second phase of the ceremony all 36 clans were going to enter the courtroom one after another and present their gifts to the Lord. They were going to enter according to the descending rankings, with the 36th ranked clan entering first. Despite his unrefined appearance, Max could understand from his rugged hands and confident gaze that this Turnan Galileo was a mighty warrior who had seen many battles in his lifetime. Max used scan to see his tier, and his personal strength came out to be at the tier 4 stage near the mid stages. For the Bloodfall clan, the Galileo clan presents a set of tableware made from pure platinum and studded with precious metals. A total market value of 75 million gold coins. Please graciously accept, Turnan said with a slightly prideful expression as Max smiled and did not ruin his goodwill either. Every clan was capable of giving out different amounts, and he could see by the beautiful tableware prepared that the Galileo clan were sincere about their gift. We the Bloodfall clan graciously accept your gift, my lord. Please have a seat in our hall, Max said with an enthusiastic voice as Turnan smiled and took his seat at the very end of the hall. Chapter 428 Shocking Gift. You are listening at novelfull.audio. One after another all the clan leaders or their representatives walked into the room with the gifts prepared for the Bloodfall clan, and the value of the gifts they brought kept increasing progressively with each passing lord. As a result of the gala dinner the previous night, all the lords and their representatives had a clear idea of what the lord beneath them were gifting, and hence they had swapped their gifts to a more appropriate market value if it were over or below the limit. As of now, the Bloodfall clan had a sort of clean slate. It did not have major feuds with any clans and did not have many allies either. This was a big advantage for Max as he could forge relations anew without having to carry them as they were from the time of his predecessors, a truly unique position to be in. The only clan that could hate him was the Kingsman clan, and they were no longer a part of the Vampire Society with their descendants already executed as far as Max knew. Although he did have Vega as his biggest backer and had annoyed the Aurelius clan and Caesar clan to some extent, it was not yet to the point of having outright bad blood that could stop all future collaborations. The gifts, which had started at 75 million gold coins worth of market value, had reached 250 million by the time the top 10 clans entered. However, the first big jump came when the 7th-ranked clan, the infamous Saint Maximus, entered the room. Now entering. The Keeper of Secrets, the God of Cleanliness, the Father of Vampire Hygiene, the mighty tier 6 god of the Saint Maximus clan, Sam Saint Maximus. Unlike the lords before him, Sam walked into the room without servants following him as he reached the center of the hall and scanned the seats of the lords who had presented their gifts up till now and curved his lips into an upward smile. To the Bloodfall clan, who are the blood brothers of the Saint Maximus clan, Sam Saint Maximus present the deed to share ownership of the green soil planet. From this day forward, the planet will be a joint arbitration between the Saint Maximus clan and the Bloodfall clan and shall serve as a proof of the bond shared between our two clans for generations to come, Sam said as murmurs broke out throughout the hall as he presented a share ownership deed to Max. Nobody had expected such a situation to suddenly arise. The gift that Sam had given Max was so invaluable that putting a price tag on it was also difficult. With this declaration and calling the Bloodfall clan Blood Brothers, Sam was implying that his Saint Maximus clan was going to be a staunch supporter of Raven's clan, and should some other clan start a dispute with the Bloodfalls, the Saint Maximus had a high probability of intervening. Max grinned ear to ear when he heard the gift that Sam had prepared for him. He had been in an exemplary mood from the gifts he had received today at the ceremony. Although it was free money, when aggregated the value of the gifts increased the coffers of his empty royal treasury by several billion, and it was an excellent boost to start his governance. Although the gift that the Saint Maximus clan gave Max was not the most valuable economically, over time when a settlement settled on green soil, not only would Max earn recurring income from the taxes, but having a joint arbitration would mean that he would be allowed to maintain a military presence on green soil. With even a small contingent posted on green soil planet, Max could ensure safety of his merchants much better, and if in the future someone wanted to capture Bloodfall clan lands the same way Max had captured Kingsman clan lands by blocking trade routes, it would become an impossible adventure since there would always be green soil planet outside the solar system. We graciously accept your gift, Lord Sam Saint Maximus. May the cooperation between our clans only deepen for generations to come, Max said with a calm voice as he personally walked down from his throne to accept Sam's gift at an equal footing, before signing the prepared document in front of the whole council then and there. With Sam's performance ending, the troubles for the 6th-ranked clan increased significantly as there was no way for them to match Sam's performance. As the Mistborn clan representative walked into the room, it was visible from his sullen face that he was not happy with how things turned out with the St. Maximus clan as he presented his gifts with great discomfort. Meanwhile in the waiting room outside, with only the top 5 clans left to enter, Vega and the other top lords were chilling inside the waiting area, pulling each other's legs as they awaited their turns to enter. Usually, in ceremonies of this level, lords of this level never attended personally, but due to some special circumstance or the other Vega, Julian and Denver were personally attending the event. There was no love lost between the people in the room, as the competition between the top 5 was known to be intense since ages, with every clan assessment being a season for Cold Wars. Just as the passive-aggressive jokes were starting to get more and more heated within the waiting room, a terrifying pressure alerted all the lords present inside the room as they immediately sat upright ready to greet the individual who had exerted this strength. Although Vega and Julian were already tier 7, even then they felt the pressure from the man who casually walked into the room as the two of them bowed their head before him as they welcomed him into the room. Nobody had expected him to attend the ceremony personally, yet somehow for some unknown motive, the vampire monarch Regus Aurelius had entered the waiting area. //////A/N. Bonus chapter for hitting the GT target. Good job everyone. /////. Chapter 429 Grand Gifts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Vega was shocked to see Regus personally arrive in Dombivli City, although he did receive a very sincere invite by the Bloodfall clan to the event and had every right to be here should he choose to do so. It was shocking that he did come because such an event was in every sense beneath him. As the monarch he did not need to personally grace the coronation of any clan except the top 3, but him still coming here personally meant that something big was about to go down. From the way you stare at me, Vega, sometimes I feel like you are my ex-lover, gazing at me with such passion and intensity. I can't figure if it's love or hate, Regus said as he joined in on the tense atmosphere and took a shot at Vega Titus. He's just a fanboy, my king, Julian the number 1 lackey said, backing up the king's comments. Vega scoffed. He was not offended by such light comments, especially when they were made within such a small audience. Everyone here already knew that Vega and Regus were at odds, so there was no love lost during the exchange of such snarky comments. I'm happy to see you here, that's all. It's reassuring to know that the political duties on Ixtal are light enough for you to attend coronations of small lords, Vega replied, throwing a barb of his own as Julian frowned heavily listening to this comment as he let his aura flare a little. The waiting room began to tremble and some decorations began to crack under the pressure as Regus had to step in and tap on Julian's shoulder to calm him down, reminding him that these comments were all just fun and games. Soon, it was Vega's turn to present his gifts as he walked out of the waiting room and entered the courtroom, where the atmosphere was in stark contrast to the tension-filled waiting room, where everyone was cheerful and happy. Vega shook off his anger as he put on a small smile and presented his gift. For the Bloodfall clan, the Titus clan has decided to provide military supplies. State-of-the-art air defense systems, 30 Titus-built frigate battleships and a dark gold-grade full-body armor blueprint to make the army self-sufficient. Vega's gift caused an uproar within the hall, as everyone looked at Max with extreme envy. 30 frigate ships would make it much easier for Bloodfall clan troops to patrol their territory and protect the land against space pirates. Whereas air defense systems would make it much more difficult for enemies to land their troops on Bloodfall soil. Finally, instead of providing military supplies to cover the full army in dark gold-grade armor, improving their survivability by several-fold, the Titus clan patriarch decided to gift the blueprint itself, which would mean that for generations to come, as long as the Bloodfall clan secured enough materials, they could forge the armors for their growing army. From an economic standpoint, each frigate cost 200 million gold coins as per market rate, 30 of them being akin to 6 billion gold coins. However, adding it with the blueprint and air defense systems, Vega's total gifting amount was above 10 billion gold coins worth of gifts, about the same as all 33 lords who had gifted before him combined. Even Asiva, who was relatively calm throughout the gift exchange up till now, shuddered with excitement at this gift, as it was precisely what the Bloodfall clan needed to improve its security situation. The Bloodfall clan accepts your gifts wholeheartedly, Lord Titus, Max said with a visible grin on his face as everyone in the room clapped and cheered for Vega Titus as he took his seat in the courtroom. Although many had expected Vega to go over the top for gifting the coronation of the Lord he personally supported, nobody expected the gifts to be so exaggerated. Naturally, this made things hard for John Velter to follow, as his gift of 5 large-sized merchant ships that could carry extreme payloads at high speeds with a market value of 200 million gold coins for each ship, paled in comparison to Vega. Following the Velter clan, came the Caesar clan, and despite Julian Caesar having no special love for Raven, if there was one thing that he absolutely could not accept in life, it was coming up short when compared to Vega. At his level a few billion gold coins were insignificant compared to his ego and personal image, and since Vega's gift value exceeded 10 billion gold coins, he needed to at least match that amount to hold his head high in front of smug Vega. For the Bloodfall clan, the Caesar clan has prepared the right to construct one medium-scale teleportation center, where all construction fees and materials will be provided by the Caesar clan. This offer can be cashed in any time within next 3 years, Julian Caesar said as instantly his words caused an uproar within the courtroom. Having a teleportation center was the surefire way to connect one's economy to the universal stage. Although Dombivli City did have a teleportation center, it was the only planet under the Bloodfall clan that had one, and it was part of the reason why that single planet was responsible for more than 90% of the territory's trade and economy. If they built a second teleportation center on one of their planets, economic growth would surely follow, and it would greatly improve the financial situation of the Bloodfall clan. Apart from the obvious cost issues that a small clan faced to build a teleportation center, the biggest problem was to obtain the corresponding rhodium crystal that was large enough to act as the teleportation array's centerpiece. Crystals of such size were extremely rare in the universe, and even if one had the money to buy it, there was a waiting time of 10–15 years before one was successful in purchasing it. For the Caesar clan to provide labor fees as well as the materials, the Bloodfall clan had truly struck gold this time. The Bloodfall clan wholeheartedly accepts the Caesar clan's gift, Max said with a small smirk on his face, as although he knew better than anyone that Julian only did this to hold his head high against Vega, the other lords who did not understand this dynamic were bound to believe that Bloodfall was not only supported by the Titus clan but also by the Caesar clan. Chapter 430 Regus makes his play. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The jealousy within the courtroom was so thick that it could be cut with a knife. The estimated value of gifts that Max had received in this courtroom exchange had exceeded the 30 billion gold coin mark, which was more than enough to help it jump a few ranks in the upcoming clan assessment. The lower-ranking lords were worried about their rank dropping even further, while the representative of many higher-ranking lords felt that they needed to reassess their relationship with the Bloodfall clan. With Julian taking his seat beside John Velter in the room, only 2 seats were left in the entire courtroom prepared for the king and queen of vampires should they have arrived for the ceremony. However, nobody actually expected for Regus to arrive personally, hence when the announcer announced his entry, everyone was shocked to point of feeling their skulls going numb. All kneel. Now entering. The Son of the Universe. The King of Kings. The Vampire Monarch. The Protector. The Annihilator. The Wise. The Wicked. The man who rules Ixtal, King Regus Aurelius. Following him is his son Prince Lucius Aurelius, the announcer shouted at the top of his lungs as immediately everyone fell to their knees, including Max, as Regus Aurelius made his entry into the courtroom. Nobody dared make a sound until Regus arrived at the center of the courtroom and glanced patiently at every single attendee before saying, at ease. The only ones who already knew about Regus's arrival were the top lords who met him in the waiting area. However, to everyone else this was a big shock. It was already a great honor for top lords like Vega and Julian to come to Max's ceremony personally. However, for Regus Aurelius to personally grace this event elevated its status to legendary. Max did not sit back on his throne, but rather walked down from his steps and greeted Regus Aurelius at eye level. Although Regus had perfectly restrained his aura, Max could not help but sweat at his back when he was in front of the man. Built like a Greek god with the demeanor of a wicked politician, Regus was the complete monarch. Just looking into his eyes one could feel the power he hid beneath them, as if a lion watching a newborn cub taking his first steps. He was without a doubt, the apex predator of the vampire hierarchy. The strongest of them all. For the Bloodfall clan, the Aurelius clan brings an exemption letter for their mandatory military call. Up on the frontline planets until the next assessment. Build your territory and strength in peace first, Raven, serve the monarchy later, Regus said in a humble tone as his powerful voice reverberated throughout the halls of the palace. Max dropped to one knee as Regus presented his gift as he said meekly, "The Bloodfall clan accepts the graces of the monarch." Regus ruffled Max's hair as if petting a dog, before walking past him to take his seat as Lucius followed and took the seat meant for his mother. Only when Regus was seated did Max get back up and take his seat on the throne, as despite it being his moment, all eyes were now plastered over the monarch Regus Aurelius who had all the limelight. It took a full 5 minutes for the officials to gather their wits as the Aurelius clan prime minister rushed to talk to his king, as even he was unaware of Regus planning to attend the ceremony. Without understanding the will of the monarch, the ceremony could not proceed, yet not one individual dared make a single sound until the proceedings resumed, fearing the wrath of Regus Aurelius. Internally Max was extremely jealous. This stature, this power, this respect, this fear, he wanted it too, however he was far from getting it. He was disgusted at having to bow like a dog in front of Regus Aurelius, however the fact of the matter was that he was nothing but a dog in front of Regus at his current strength. Although he knew exactly why the king was here and knew about the events that were to follow, he was still dissatisfied with how things were turning out, especially how Regus purposefully ruffled his hair. "Calm down, boy, your time will come. Remember all this disrespect, all this jealousy and hatred, someday you will hold his decapitated neck by his hair. Hide your emotions deeply until then." Drax said as he reminded Max that his time would come, but today was not the day to act rowdy. Listening to Drax's advice, Max calmed down significantly as he buried his anger deep. Soon, the crown was escorted to the courtroom as the last and final ceremony of the day was about to start, with the crown being placed on Max's head and him being declared the lord of the Bloodfall clan. However, the ceremony was interrupted by the prime minister of the Aurelius clan as he began acting on Regus's wishes. "As all of you present here, whether the lords of your own territory or their chosen representatives must know, becoming a lord and integrating into the vampire society is a great honor. We are as strong as those we are surrounded with, and the fabric of our society is trust in each other and trust within the vampire system established by our ancestors," the Prime Minister said as he pretended to give a lecture on morals and values. "Lord Raven is a great man who despite his young age has performed various meritorious deeds for the vampire society, which is probably why today so many lords have personally gathered for his coronation. However, before the king personally places the crown on his head and coronates him with all honors, there is a slight development that needs to be addressed by Lord Raven in front of this courtroom, since it involves the traitorous deeds of his known associate Max Rajput," the Prime Minister said, as everyone shifted their glance towards Max and alternated it with the smiling face of Regus Aurelius. The monarch had finally started his play. //////n. Bonus chapter for hitting the PS target, good job everyone. //